So hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 21 of our F1 Manager Season 4 here on the channel. Now if you didn't watch the last episode, it was indeed magical in Mexico because Lando Norris won the Grand Prix, Pierre Gasly was in P2, Charles Leclerc in P3, and it was a very decent race indeed, and we had some really good moments in that race, and it's all leading up to these last final 3 races. Yes ladies and gentlemen, we only have 3 episodes left of this series on this game. Now let's have a little look. We know that Andretti Cadillac have won the constructors. It's been fantastic for us this season. We'll just have a little look at the F2. Invicta are leading the way in that, and MP Motorsport leading the way in the Formula 3, but it's all coming down to this in the driver's standings. Lando Norris could be crowned world champion on this episode if he manages to win here at Interlagos in Brazil. Pierre Gasly needs to be absolutely flawless for the next 3 races, and Lando Norris needs to struggle. We are also keeping an eye on Checo Perez and Max Verstappen, the battle for 3rd position. Checo Perez currently leading the way, 3 points ahead of his former teammate Max Verstappen. And of course we do head to Interlagos this weekend, Sao Paulo, 71 laps around here. It is a sprint weekend, of course. Car attributes, top speed and low speed cornering, very important around here, and the expected strategy is a 2-stop. Ladies and gentlemen, this could be the weekend Lando Norris is crowned world champion. Let's get through practice and I'll see you in qualifying for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Ladies and gentlemen, you join us back in Q3, and this is going to be the only dry lap in the session. Lando Norris, it must be said, we've not been anywhere near pole position in any of the qualifying sessions so far, but Lando Norris coming up to the line. He's going to be the first man to put a time on the board, a 1:08.5 for Lando Norris, and it's a 1:08.3 from his teammate, Pierre Gasly. Now, as we fast forward on, where is that going to put everyone in terms of the positions tomorrow? Lando Norris has not had a good lap there, and as we fast forward on, that is going to be your grid for the sprint race. It will be Max Verstappen on pole, Perez in P2, Gasly in P3, then comes Leclerc, Piastri, Russell, Albon, Norris in P8, Ocon and Tsunoda, the 2 Aston Martins in P9 and 10. Let's now get to the sprint race. Right then guys, starting in P8 and P3, what we're going to do is both cars, we've got plenty of soft compound tyres, so it makes sense to use them and save the mediums and the hards for Sunday. So both cars starting on the softs, let's get to the sprint race.
24 laps around Interlagos awaits these drivers in what should be an entertaining sprint.
The 100-kilometer dash around Sao Paulo is typically packed full of overtaking opportunities, making for a thrilling event as the season nears the end.
Forget the scheduled pit stops today, it's all about racing. 24 laps around Sao Paulo in today's sprint. And it's lights out, and away we go.
And away we go, and it must be said, as you can see on the grid, there is a lot of cars there on the medium compounded tyre. In fact, I would hazard a guess, it is only the 2 Andrettis that's on the soft compounded tyre. So, we're planning very much more for Sunday at this moment in time. Lando Norris had a decent start up against Alexander Albon. This soft compound tyre should work very well, and Pierre Gasly, looking at down the inside of the Red Bull of Max Verstappen early doors, sits in P3, the McLaren of Piastri and Leclerc battling behind him. It must be said, Perez and Verstappen is a battle we've definitely got to keep an eye on this weekend, because I mean, if Checo Perez by the end of season 4 overtakes Max Verstappen in the Drivers' Championship, that is pretty good going from Checo Perez in that McLaren that's been insanely quick so far this year. But as we come towards the end of lap 1, Perez leads from Verstappen, Gasly in P3, Lando Norris 2 positions gained already. He's now ahead of George Russell. You join us back on lap 4, and Oscar Piastri has got Pierre Gasly. We have got to be aware that we've got to make these tyres last. It's not going to be as easy for us on the soft compound tyre. Verstappen now leads the sprint from Checo Perez. Piastri in P3, Gasly down in P4. It must be said, there's a lot of cars as well taking engine penalties this weekend, which we'll come on to for the feature race, but there's a lot of cars with new engine components, and the 2 Andrettis, not exactly the worst worn components in the world, but not at their optimal at this moment. So Gasly in P4, Leclerc P5, Lando Norris tagging onto the back of that Ferrari beautifully in P6. We are seeing some real wheel-to-wheel action in this sprint race, and it's Gasly and Piastri once again. We're on the light tyre saving mode now. for these soft compound tyres. Gasly still sticking his nose in against Oscar Piastri and coming into the right-hander. Will he manage to get in front? It's a very twisty middle section here at Interlagos. Piastri chucks it back down the inside. Gasly still trying to keep his nose in there, and Pierre Gasly up to P3. Lovely work now from Pierre Gasly. We'll take that all day long. This is going to run and run. Lando Norris, of course, in P6. This is an opportunity for Pierre Gasly to close the gap on his teammate in the driver's standings and keep that dream of a first world driver's title alive. But Pierre Gasly now up into P3. Perez and Verstappen still battling for the lead. As you can see, Perez going for a move down the outside of Max Verstappen. We'll keep his eye on this into turn 1. What can Checo Perez do? Can he get around the outside? Looks like he can. Of course, that will turn into the inside for the next corner. And Checo Perez now leads the sprint here in Interlagos. Lap 14, you join us back, and it must be said this is a tyre-saving masterclass from the Andretti guys. Let's just have a look on the left-hand side. 64% tyres for Verstappen, 61 for Checo Perez, 62 for Gasly on softs. And what Gasly has done, he's burnt a little bit of battery, and now he's in the DRS of these top two cars. Piastri and Leclerc fighting behind, and of course Lando Norris is on the back of this little battle. But this suits us down to the ground because Gasly can tag onto the back of these two front runners. Leclerc is holding up Piastri and Norris. Gasly's in a very, very strong position. 10 laps to go. Lap 16, Lando Norris now up into P5. He's managed to dispatch Oscar Piastri. 58% tyres. We are making these soft compound tyres last around Interlagos today, and it's working very, very well for us. It does bode well for Sunday. We'll have some great strategy options if these softs carry on working for this Andretti Cadillac like they are at the moment. But Lando Norris now 6 tenths behind Leclerc. Gasly just about, and I mean just about, I think he's just lost the DRS. Let's just see if Pierre Gasly gets the DRS on this lap. Them soft compound tyres are starting to wear. Does he get DRS? He doesn't. Pierre Gasly's lost DRS of the leaders. Final lap of the sprint race, and we are going to follow it. Last lap, Max Verstappen is leading the way from Charles Leclerc in P2. Perez in P3, then comes Gasly and Norris, the two Andretti Cadillacs in P4 and 5. Russell's just on the back of this train, but we have just told our two boys, now you can use the DRS, now you can use your tyres, boys, because we're going to attack with both cars as well. We've saved the tyres enough. It is a battle between 5 cars for the sprint race win here in Interlagos. What a race. This has been a sprint for the ages, and it must be said, Verstappen fighting with Perez. We can see Perez down the inside of Leclerc. Pierre Gasly in P4 looking to see if he can sniff out an opportunity. Verstappen looks like the man who may possibly have this one today, but Verstappen is still, we can see Gasly. Norris is on the back of his teammate. He knows how crucial these points could be in the Drivers' World Championship standings, but Max Verstappen, as we come up to the final couple of corners here in Interlagos, leads this sprint, and the two Andretti Cadillac drivers are side by side. It's a drag race between Norris and Gasly in P4 and 5. Gasly has been in P4 all afternoon. Is Pierre Gasly going to get P4? He is. But Lando Norris and Pierre Gasly separated by just over 100th of a second. They keep it clean, they race competitively, and Max Verstappen, what a sprint race that was, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to the classifieds. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, the classifieds. Max Verstappen wins from Checo Perez, Charles Leclerc in P3, Gasly P4, Norris P5, Russell, Piastri, Albon, Tsunoda and Ocon make up the rest of the top 10. Grid penalties for Sunday for Verstappen, Perez, Russell and Piastri towards the front of the grid. So Charles Leclerc will be on pole with Gasly in P2 and Lando in P3. Let's get to Sunday's strategy. Right then, ladies and gents, so P2 and P3, as we've just seen now, we've done well to save 2 sets of soft compound tyres. Pierre Gasly has got an embarrassment of medium compound tyres he could possibly use. So we'll start on the soft, see how they get on. We know how well we made them last in that stint. We may go soft, medium, medium with both cars. Both cars have got the opportunity to do whatever today. Safety cars, of course, can happen round here, but let's get to 5 red lights. I think this could be one hell of a Grand Prix.
We're not too far away from the race start here as we edge closer to the 71 laps of the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. If Pierre Gasly's feeling the pressure, he's certainly not showing it.
A second place start for them today. They'll be aiming for a podium, but could they even sneak the win?
But just what will happen here, your guess is as good as mine. Who will win? Only time will tell here at the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
And away we go, and it is soft compound tyres for the first 4 on the grid, and Charles Leclerc got one hell of a start there into the first corner. Charles Leclerc leads from Pierre Gasly. Lando Norris in P3. Are we going to have any crashes in the first couple of corners? It doesn't look it. Norris and Gasly straight away in formation. Are they side by side again? You cannot keep these two cars separated at the moment. Norris and Gasly side by side into turns 3 and 4. This is going to be one fantastic Grand Prix. I'm so excited to see if Lando Norris can win his first ever driver's title here today. Let me know down in the comments, do you think he can do it as we start this race here in Sao Paulo? But on lap 1, it's Leclerc leads away. Got a fantastic start from Gasly. Norris in P3, Yuki Tsunoda in P4. Is he going to be in P4 for much longer? Because Alexander Albon's sticking his nose in round the outside, but Tsunoda defends it well. We do have a yellow flag on circuit. We are waiting for a replay to see who is tumbling down the order. I can't see anyone in particular, but Pierre Gasly looks like he's just taking the lead. I'm sure we'll get a replay of this. Théo Pourchaire down in P17. If you remember at the start of Season 2 or Season 3, Théo Pourchaire was unbelievable in his rookie season. But it is Pierre Gasly who has taken the lead from Charles Leclerc. Lando Norris now in P3, but Gasly now leads the Brazilian Grand Prix. We've had a crash on circuit already, and it must be said it's George Russell in the Red Bull. And I believe that's Esteban Ocon. A lot of talk about Esteban Ocon over the past couple of weekends. And it was just a clip. I mean, Esteban Ocon's managed to drift that around the outside. It were a little bit like Tokyo Drift there, the Fast and Furious for Esteban Ocon. I might have to try and get another replay. That was fantastic from Esteban. But Pierre Gasly leading the way, fastest lap of the Grand Prix as well. Remember, Gasly needs to win, possibly with the fastest lap today. If we just have a quick look at the standings, remember, there is only around 50 more points to play for after today. I think at the moment, Lando Norris would possibly win the driver's standing, so a lot to look at. But at the moment, Gasly leading, Norris in P3, and we are pulling the gap to Albon in P4. Lando Norris is not letting Pierre run away with it at all. Lando Norris has now got Charles Leclerc on that soft compound tyre, and he's now passed the Monegasque driver, and Andretti Cadillac are running P1 and P2. Remember, we are trying to be as fair as we possibly can with strategy with both drivers. Normally, the man in front gets the optimal strategy, and at the moment, the man in front is Pierre Gasly, but for how much longer? Because here comes Lando Norris down the inside, DRS wide open, and once again, these two Andretti Cadillac drivers are side by side. Gasly's looking after his tyres a little bit better at the moment. We are thinking of switching it to a soft medium, but at the moment now, Pierre Gasly in P2, Lando Norris takes the lead. We've got another yellow flag on circuit, and let's have a little look now. The Hugo bosses, it must be said, haven't got a lot of airtime in recent episodes, and now they've tagged into each other. Hulkinen and Raikkonen combining once again and crashing into each other. As far as poor performances go in an F1 season, this is right down there. Not up there, this is right down there with some of the worst performances by an F1 team I think we can agree that we've ever seen. We are on lap 12, so we will have a full rundown. Norris is leading, Gasly's just hanging on to the back of him at this moment in time with that DRS. Leclerc's in P3, Albon in P4, Perez winning the Perez versus Verstappen battle at the minute in P5, Tsunoda P6, Hamilton P7, then comes Russell, Verstappen and Piastri, lap 13. Lap 17, the battle is raging on. As you can see, Lando Norris and Pierre Gasly still running side by side for a long periods of time during these laps. But at the moment, what they're doing is currently, we're managing to sort of share out the DRS for the most part. They are battling, and the reason they are battling is because they know the man who's in front gets the optimal pit lap. And at the moment now, that is going to be Pierre Gasly. Lando Norris now dropping down to P2. We are going to be pitting in around 3 or 4 laps time. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Lando Norris was leading, so Lando Norris is now pitting on the optimal pit lap, and I think that's as fair as we can possibly make it. Now, I reckon Charles Leclerc's actually jumped us here on the left-hand side. He's gone to the medium. He's got a little bit of an undercut, but at the moment, I'm not too concerned about that. Into the pits comes Lando Norris. Is he going to be a decent stop? A lot of this battle could go down to pit stops as well, but Lando Norris trundling down the pit lane, 3.3 seconds, must be said, and I'm going to say it now, and poor old Pierre Gasly won't thank me for this. We've not had many pit stop issues in the last few races, but Lando Norris now in P9. Is he going to come out behind Charles Leclerc? He certainly is. Comes out behind Charles Leclerc, but with the fresher tyres and a little bit of traffic to negotiate, Pierre Gasly is in this lap. And 1 lap later, into the pits comes Pierre. He's had a decent in-lap there as Pierre But of course, not just being in front at the crucial time meant that he didn't quite get the strategy, the optimal strategy. We can see a couple of cars coming in behind him. Does he get a decent pit stop? This looks pretty decent. 3.2 seconds, so he gets a slightly better pit stop. These fine margins for the Andretti Cadillac drivers this weekend. Lando Norris coming down the start-finish straight, getting DRS. They were getting held up a little bit, these cars. Now, where is Pierre Gasly going to filter out? He can see Charles Leclerc, he can see Lando Norris, and he comes out just behind Lando. So Lando Norris has not gained too much there. I think it's pretty much as you were, with a lot of traffic to negotiate. Lap 22, both Andretti Cadillacs have made their first stop. Lando Norris is starting to put cars between himself. You can see Pierre Gasly's challenging him at every opportunity, but Lando Norris round the outside of the Williams, and I don't believe that Pierre Gasly managed to get through as well. It's brought a McLaren right back into this fight. But Lando Norris now up into P5, following Charles Leclerc. He's got a 1.3 second gap to Leclerc, and now here comes Pierre Gasly getting the same move done on the BWT Williams car, which I still think is one of the best liveries we've had this season, apart from the Andretti Cadillac, of course. And it must be said that Ferrari Las Vegas livery on this game has been fantastic as well. Let me know down in the comments what has been one of your favourite liveries on this series so far. As it's slowly coming to an end in the next couple of episodes. But Pierre Gasly now 1.3 seconds gap to Norris. Checo Perez has really started to put his foot down. He got past Pierre Gasly, and I were going to just show you that highlight, but by the time I were going to show you that, he'd also got past Lando Norris. So now Checo Perez is up into net P2. Checo Perez firing on all cylinders once again. Norris and Gasly. Norris has got DRS, Gasly hasn't. Gasly needs to push on. Lap 30, Crofty thinks it's Zhou Guanyu. I would suggest that he is right, and it is a Haas, an Alfa Romeo Haas once again, and it's just scruffy. It's just a very scruffy collision. There's a lot of swear words. There's an Audi sneaking through. The Haas gets back on track a little bit better than the Williams racing car, and that's going to be very disappointing for Zhou Guanyu. Doesn't cause a safety car again. It's pretty much as you were. Verstappen is still leading, but he's on the hard compounder tyre. Perez in P2. Then comes Leclerc, Norris and Gasly. Norris still leading his teammate, and it must be said Gasly's wearing his tyres a little bit worse than his teammate. Charles Leclerc is starting to slow down, and Lando Norris once again putting a car between himself and Pierre Gasly into turn one. Not a scruffy between these two very classy drivers, and Lando Norris now up into, I believe that is P3 if we cut back to the live action. It certainly is. Gasly still in the train, now behind that Scuderia Ferrari. Verstappen trailing Perez again. Max Verstappen must be sick of looking at the back of Checo Perez, and it's not often a commentator says that, is it, ladies and gentlemen? And anything Lando Norris can do, it must be said, Pierre Gasly seems to be able to do as well. Charles Leclerc getting in the way of Pierre. He knows he's got to chase down his teammate and maximise his opportunity today. And Pierre now up into P4 as we are at halfway in the Grand Prix. We will have a full rundown. It's Perez from Verstappen, Norris in P3, Gasly in P4. Then comes Leclerc, Russell, Hamilton in P7, Piastri P8, Tsunoda P9, and Alexander Albon in P10. And of course, who's at the back? The two Hugo Bosses. You just get the sense, ladies and gentlemen, watching this unfold, that Lando Norris is going to win this Grand Prix and win the Drivers' World title, his maiden Drivers' World title, because he's starting to dispatch cars in good succession. He's starting to make good overtakes. He's got everything under control. His battery is very much intact. And Pierre Gasly may be powerless to stop this today, but the gap now from Norris to Checo Perez is 1.7 seconds, lap 37. And Max Verstappen's tyres, the hard compound, he's been on them for a long time as Max Verstappen, and Pierre is now past him down the start finish straight into turn one. Job done before the braking zone for Pierre, and that is another good move. It's now P2 and 3 for the Andretti Cadillac boys. 1.4 seconds the gap, 1.2 seconds the gap between Norris and Gasly. Lap 43, we've got a couple of cars in the pit, namely Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. Verstappen has been on the hard compound tyre. I believe that's a one stop for Max Verstappen. Now onto the medium compound, I would suggest he is. Charles Leclerc onto a set of mediums. That's going to be a long way for those mediums to go to the end of the race. Gasly and Norris now in hot pursuit of the McLaren of Checo Perez, whose tyres are dying by the moment. Perez's pit, Russell's pit, lap 44, Lewis Hamilton's number, of course. Checo Perez into the pits, onto the medium compounder tyre. He looks like he may be going to the end. We've got a 17-second gap now between Norris, Gasly and Tsunoda. This is going to be nice and interesting now. We are pitting in 4 or 5 laps time, but a good chance for our two drivers to push on. Into the pits on lap 47 comes Pierre Gasly. Now Pierre Gasly was in second, and I know what you're thinking, but his tyres were dying and we needed to get him in. That was the right call, and Pierre Gasly's in to the pits. Is he going to get a decent pit stop here, Pierre Gasly? We don't want any pit stop problems. 3.3 seconds for Pierre. That's decent. Lando Norris now pushing on, milking every last inch of these these medium compound tyres. I do apologise. He is going to have a pushed on in lap. Because we did obviously pit Pierre before. Now, where has Pierre come out? Behind Verstappen, I believe. Verstappen is there. There's an Aston Martin. There's Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc gets the undercut. But like Pierre Gasly now out in P6, a little bit behind Verstappen, catching up to do Lando Norris in this lap. And into the pits comes Lando Norris. Big moments in this Grand Prix. We're just going to get the battle assist on for Pierre Gasly as well as he's fighting Yuki Tsunoda. But Lando Norris now trundling down the pit lane. We do reckon, did he have a decent enough in lap? That will be interesting. It's a decent pit stop. That's what we wanted. 3.5 seconds. All pit stops, scheduled pit stops at least, complete for the Andretti Cadillac boys. Now Perez goes through. He has pit already, so the Verstappen and Perez going to be very interesting. Lando Norris comes out in P3. Is he going to come out in front of Charles Leclerc? He is. So it must be said, although Pierre Gasly pit before, Lando Norris, with that overcut and that fantastic in-lap, has managed to make it work. Lando Norris now is around 5 seconds off the lead, and we're just going to watch this overtake by Pierre Gasly on Yuki Tsunoda. Let's have a look at this. Into turn one, Gasly dives down the inside into the first chicane. Beautiful move from Pierre Gasly. You can see his teammate there trundling out of the pit lane, but all scheduled pit stops complete. It's a race to the end now. Lando Norris is starting to close in. He's got Max Verstappen. You can see Pierre Gasly behind having to fight with Charles Leclerc. You can see his teammate, his championship rival, disappearing up the road. But Lando Norris now gets Max Verstappen, and that is job done. And as you can see in the background, Pierre Gasly has near enough got Charles Leclerc as well. We'll keep an eye on this during the middle sector, and Pierre manages to get up into P4. He's 2 seconds off Verstappen. Norris 4 seconds away from Checo Perez, and Perez's tyres are going to die before the end of this Grand Prix. Pierre Gasly loses the place back to Leclerc. Leclerc putting up a strong fight, but he will get DRS very shortly. It was looking very much like Lando Norris were going to chase down Checo Perez, and Max Verstappen has decided that he fancied a lunge on the World Championship leader at this moment. It was a lovely move from Max Verstappen, showing what a fantastic driver he is into the final sector. So Verstappen getting past Lando Norris. You can see Pierre Gasly in the background as well has pulled right up to the back of his teammate Lando Norris. So now there's a 5-second gap between Verstappen and Perez, sorry. We have got around 12 laps to go. If these guys want to get Checo Perez, whose tyres are starting to go into a lower window, they've got to get him now, as we see Lando Norris making the overtake on Max Verstappen. Great work from him. Gasly now got to get past that Red Bull. We've got another crash on circuit. Oh my goodness. The Hugo bosses are obviously quite frustrated, and that frustration is boiling over. And oh my word, as far as a bad season goes, this is as bad as it gets. The two Hugo bosses colliding. Gasly now 1.9 seconds behind Norris. Norris has got 4 seconds to close the gap on Perez and win the World Championship in style. We didn't quite get the replay of Verstappen and Gasly there, but Norris is going to be charging on in the next few laps. 6 laps to go, and Lando Norris has closed the gap on Checo Perez. He's now within half a second. Lando Norris is 1 position away from winning the Interlagos Grand Prix, winning the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, and winning his first Drivers' World Championship, and winning our first Drivers' World Championship as an F1 team principal on this F1 Manager game. Lando Norris, 5 laps to make it happen. This could be it, ladies and gentlemen. The highlight you've been waiting for. Lando Norris, DRS wide open. Checo Perez defends to the inside. Lando Norris gives him a little nudge, but around the outside goes Lando Norris to take the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix. And Lando Norris now has to negotiate 3 or 4 laps, and he is going to be your Drivers' World Champion. And this is it, ladies and gentlemen. Drink this in. Lando Norris has just broken the DRS of Checo Perez, and as we go around this final lap in Brazil, you think back to the people, the drivers that have won here, won championships at this circuit, and this is going to be right up there with all of them, because Lando Norris has been supreme. He's had to fight off his teammate all season. We've had the best car in the end. We've had some fantastic results, but Lando Norris joined the team and he's going to win his maiden championship with Andretti Cadillac. What a moment this is for the team. What a moment for you guys who have been watching from the start when we started off with Alpine 4 seasons ago, finishing 5th in the constructors standings, and Lando Norris deserves all the acclaim, as does Pierre Gasly, who's going to get his rightful time on the screen as well towards the end, because he's given him such a fight and he's been here since the very start with us. But Lando Norris comes round the final corner onto the start finish straight, and Lando Norris, what a moment for this man. DRS wide open in an Andretti Cadillac. Lando Norris, you are world champion. Unbelievable scenes for Lando Norris. Pierre Gasly comes home P3, deserves all of this. But let's have a little look at the race winner as he crosses the line to win his first Drivers' World Championship, to win our only Drivers' World Championship on this season's game. And my word, what a way to end it. We've got the Constructors and we have got the Drivers' World Championship too. Unbelievable for Lando Norris. And I'm sorry, ladies and gents, shall we just get to the podium? Because I fancy some champagne.
Lando Norris is the driver who takes this year's title. Lando Norris certainly loves the podium, heading up there now to celebrate again.
And that's excellent, seeing both the team's drivers up there on the podium together.
And that means, here in Sao Paulo, it's party time.
It is party time indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Just drinking these celebrations, and look at our two fantastic drivers. It's got to be said, Checo Perez as well has been unbelievable all season, but Lando Norris wins the Brazilian Grand Prix. Fantastic, 25 points. Perez gaining 8 positions to P2, Gasly in P3, Verstappen P4, then came Leclerc, Russell, Hamilton, Piastri, and the two Alexander Albon and Yuki Tsunoda. Fastest lap, Zhou Guanyu in a Williams. Fair play to Zhou Guanyu. But this is the moment, ladies and gentlemen. Lando Norris is your Drivers' World Champion. He cannot be caught. 457 points with a couple of races to go. Pierre Gasly in P2. Checo Perez now 7 points clear of Max Verstappen. Going to be interesting to see how that battle finishes towards the end of the season. Leclerc in P5, Russell P6. Of course, we know constructors-wise, we're on 841 points, ladies and gentlemen. Red Bull in P2 could still be caught by McLaren, it must be said. Ferrari in P4, Aston Martin P5, and the Mercedes-Haas battle in P6 and 7. Ladies and gentlemen, what a moment, what a series, what everything. I've run out of expletive. I cannot tell you how happy I am to see Lando Norris win that World Championship. Let me know down in the comments how happy you are to see that and whether you would have preferred Pierre Gasly to win it. But my word, we have got 2 more episodes left to go on this F1 Manager season and series as a whole before we look towards next year's game. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please do like and subscribe, and I shall see you on the next one. World Champion.